They also say the Muslim Students Association, which has over 600 chapters on college campuses, served as a main vehicle for campus influence. That report coming a day after Texas Governor Greg Abbott labeled both the Muslim Brotherhood and the Council on Islamic-American Relations a foreign terrorist organization. CAIR denying the governor's claims about the group and says they're ready to sue the state. Let's talk to the man who may lead the case for the state. That is Congressman and Texas Attorney General candidate Chip Roy. Congressman, thanks for being with us here today. Yesterday, I spoke with Texas Representative Steve Toth about this. A lot of people have pointed out, and I think we have some numbers that we can share with the audience, the growth in mosques across the state of Texas, concerns over developments outside of Dallas and Houston, where people are suggesting maybe they might implement Sharia law or have exclusionary practices of who might move in. Tell me, is this, while we see a proliferation in numbers, do we have real concerns that they are connected to CAIR or Muslim Brotherhood?
Yeah, Will, great to be on this afternoon, and I certainly applaud Governor Abbott for his leadership and making the declaration that he made yesterday. It's critically important to unlock the legislation that the Texas legislature passed to prevent these organizations from being able to accumulate and acquire lands in Texas. That's one step of many that we need to take. You're very well aware of the East Plano Islamic Center, the Islamic Center down in Houston, the significant growth in mosques throughout the state of Texas. But all of this is a part of an organized effort, and CAIR is right in the center of it. The report that you're alluding to and other reports demonstrate CAIR's direct connection to all of this and the proliferation of the dollars that are flowing through these groups and CAIR's involvement in it. And let's remember that the Holy Land Foundation case, which occurred right there in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex where you are, that was 25 years ago, and you've got unindicted co-conspirators with the Holy Land Foundation that is associated with CAIR. You have leadership of CAIR that was celebrating the attack on Israel by Hamas on October 7th, 2 years ago. And you've got the evidence that you just presented about their organization with these student groups that are directly tied to terrorism. The governor's right to go after them. I introduced legislation here to get rid of CAIR's tax status. They shouldn't get the C3 benefit. And I've introduced legislation that we should vet people for Sharia law. And today I introduced legislation that we should pause all immigration until we sort this stuff out.
I saw that you introduced the PAUSE Act to halt all legal and illegal immigration until you can sort this out. I think that's a deeper conversation, and one that we should have at a future time. But I just want to stay on this issue in Texas for a moment. You are running for Attorney General. It sounds controversial, Congressman, but there are many people across, by the way, the political aisle, from Bill Maher to others, that have pointed out that Islam, not the religion, but Islam, the system of life, the culture, the system of governance, is incompatible with the foundations of Western civilization. And it's hard to find an experiment where that case has not been proven out. That being said, simply a proliferation of mosques isn't something that the United States of America can necessarily be dealt with by the government. We have the First Amendment. We have freedom of religion. So the question is, what can be done? You can have a cultural argument. You can have an immigration argument. But unless you show a direct connection to the Muslim Brotherhood, or CAIR perhaps, what can you do? What can you do about the growth in Texas?
Well, first, you can stand up and talk about it, and the governor's doing that, and I'm doing that, and this is a real concern. And the second issue is you can follow the money. These groups are well-connected and well-organized. Where you've got money with CAIR, where you've got money with the Muslim Brotherhood, where you've got money with these vast array of C4s and C3s and NGOs that are all affiliated with the groups that are trying to move people in and exploit our immigration laws to bring people into the United States who are adherent to Sharia law, which is point 3, you can go after Sharia law because it is in direct contradiction to Western civilization, our Constitution, and the rule of law. And in fact, it undermines our religious liberty because Sharia law is at odds with it. So that's why the governor was correct to point out that these Sharia courts are in conflict with Texas law, and he encouraged the district attorneys in Collin County and in Dallas to go after them, as well as the sheriffs, copied to the current Attorney General Ken Paxton. And we need to be resolved, and we need to stand up on the rooftops and say that our Judeo-Christian country is not going to be infiltrated by people who seek to undermine it. It's a political move, and we've got to stop it, and the governor's right to do it, Will.
Yeah, Western civilization and the Constitution of the United States cannot be a suicide pact. They have to be something that allows for the proliferation of liberty, not the extinguishment of liberty. And that's the debate. That's the fine line, Congressman, that deserves, by the way, as is so many conversations on this show, more depth, more time. And we look forward to hearing from you on both the PAUSE Act and that more in the future. Thank you.
I'll come back to Dallas and we'll do it there. See you, Will.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Congressman.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.